MTV's long-running internet video clip show Ridiculousness is a series I hold very close to my heart. And after watching it excessively for the past few years, I've found the words to explain to you why that is. You might not realize it, but this seemingly unassuming show has changed and grown and evolved over the years. And somehow, these three people being in the same room together changed my life.
Warning, please do not attempt to perform any of the stunts or activities in this show, as they are dangerous and could lead to serious injury.
Video submissions of any kind are not accepted by MTV or the producers. I know it by heart. Ridiculousness isn't the flashiest or most visually arresting or most intellectually poignant or most creatively expansive show on TV, and it's placed on a network most known for betraying its original purpose, documenting a generation of adolescent parents, and putting a very particular part of the mid-Atlantic coast on the map certainly doesn't naturally engender it to praise. But somehow, MTV has made a product that, in its own way, is wildly, unapologetically entertaining.
Here's the thing, alcohol is a really, really great form of turning yourself into a ninja, right? It's the reality of if you get drunk enough, you could literally beat up anybody in your mind. Believe me, right?
Ridiculousness is an internet video comedy clip show which premiered on August 29th, 2011, in which Rob Dyrdek, Sterling, Steelo Brim, and Janelle West Coast commentate on and react to a variety of viral videos packaged into segments, at times alongside some manner of notable or celebrity guest. They've actually had a variety of guests on over the years, spanning just about every area of culture you could think of. From Snoop Dogg and Kobe Bryant to the Jenners and Justin Bieber, the Big Red Ridiculousness couch has played host to some surprisingly huge names.
Have you ever really gotten deep into sexual intercourse with ranch?
I think you and I both know the answer to that. Is yes.
I didn't even need to ask it.
Before you ask, Ridiculousness is not like AFB. They are strictly focused on viral internet videos, and in contrast to ABC's Sunday night staple, do not accept viewer submissions, as Rob Dyrdek will dutifully remind you at the beginning and end of every episode while he tells you to not try this at home. Basically, internet clips, don't call us, we'll call you. This narrow focus also differentiates it from the likes of, say, the recently cancelled Tosh.0, which acts as more of a one-man cultural lampoon, or the format of E's The Soup, either the original G4's web spinoff or the reboot, which, like Tosh, is a one-man band, but is more focused on finding the humor of individual moments rather than a more cohesive playlist. I do like The Soup, and I was sad it was cancelled and happy it came back, but I like that show for different reasons, and that show does different things. Despite harboring the hallmarks of the web video clip show mold in some respects, Ridiculousness is its own animal, and I've seen enough of it now to understand that firsthand.
Hey, like, let me get in on some of this action.
Okay.
You get out, whoa!
I first got into Ridiculousness right at the end of 2016, just before the start of season 9. And given I just said that the show started in summer 2011, that number probably comes off a little weird if you're thinking about how normal shows progress through seasons. This show literally just started its 18th season. This show is secretly giving police procedurals runs for their money on length. And honestly, given the current cultural state of affairs, this show might win out. But anyway, season 9 was a very interesting time to tune into the show, as I would come to realize later it was the beginning of a very pivotal point in the show's evolution, but for now it was a fun and hilarious show that brightened up every weekend. My friends and I would stream it on many Friday nights back then and joke around and hang out, voice calls most of the time. It was particularly special then, as during part of season 9, MTV ran the Ridiculousness Fridays programming block where, in addition to running the show all day, new episodes would premiere at 8 p.m. featuring live interstitials with Rob, Steelo, and Janelle with a studio audience. Honestly, in hindsight, that might go down as one of the last times MTV does something like that. In some episodes of the show, especially in earlier seasons, the gang would make reference to previous MTV shows of theirs. Little did I know how much more I'd grow to appreciate Ridiculousness once I took a step back there myself. In early 2019, I began to use the Pluto TV service. It's a free streaming offering set up in the style of a cable TV guide, a bunch of shows formatted into linear channels, and a few actual linear channels, with a selection of video on demand as well. That March, the service was acquired by Viacom. The re-merger into Viacom-CBS was still a few months away, and soon enough, the new owners made their mark through launching a variety of new thematic channels featuring Viacom-CBS content and brands. Among these was an MTV Guide Code channel featuring male-skewing series. It was here where I truly discovered Rob Dyrdek's previous TV projects in earnest. Well, save for Wild Grinders, which I watched and was super here for when it came out, but that's another story. Among the programming on the Guide Code channel, including the eponymous series produced for MTV2 back when they cared enough to make that relevant, were Rob Dyrdek's previous reality shows, Rob and Big and Rob Dyrdek's Fantasy Factory. Rob and Big, which ran for 3 seasons between November 2006 and April 2008, explored the day-to-day home lives and hijinks of Dyrdek and his best friend and bodyguard, the late Christopher Boykin, better known as Big Black. He was big and, well, you get the idea. Fantasy Factory took Rob to work and took us inside his ridiculously, pardon the pun, lavish warehouse. Part office, part skate park. It's here where we meet other people in Rob's life, like Chris Drama Paff, Rob's cousin and creator of the Young and Reckless clothing brand, as well as future Ridiculousness co-stars Steelo Brim as Rob's friend, and Chanel West Coast as the rapping receptionist. Big Black even came back for the back half of the show's 7-season run. The shows were basically live-action cartoons when you think about it. Zany, high-energy adventures wrapped around an establishing premise that, in some regards, served as window dressing. Whether it was riding an elephant, a zero-gravity photo shoot, trying to contact aliens, or even just trying to find Rob a girlfriend, the stuff Rob and his friends got to was, to reference a corporate sibling of a similar vintage, insane. Were it a cartoon, we probably wouldn't have batted an eye at it, but this was live action. Say what you will about reality TV as a genre, but these two shows certainly went places and were eager to take viewers along for the ride. It was through watching these two shows, mainly Fantasy Factory, that I really got to know who Rob Dyrdek was. A taste of his personality, fairly raw and pretty unadulterated, as well as the lives of his friends and some of his family. Watching Rob Dyrdek's previous TV projects and then heading back to Ridiculousness gave me so much more of an appreciation of the dynamic that Rob, Steelo, and Chanel have. I already enjoyed the show before, but I really came to love it after familiarizing myself with the other shows. I get a lot more of the older references they make between each other now, though I still haven't seen the Dodgeball episode. Also, it's likely that Rob and Big and Fantasy Factory just said my seemingly eternal FOMO and enabled my propensity to vicariously live more interesting lives through other people, so thank you for that, Rob.
Because, I mean, let's think about it. We're all better than we were when we first started this show, right?
Yeah.
You know, before
Season
we were...
one.
Season 1.
Do we even air that anymore? So bad. We don't air it no more.
Oh, man, we were up, but look.
When Ridiculousness began in August 2011, the internet was still novel enough to TV executives that clip shows were in vogue. Admittedly, the novelty among the populace peaked a few years prior, but no one said TV moved quickly. The show's early seasons leaned into its online sensibilities, with video stars featuring as early guests alongside the parade of favors called in from the Fantasy Factory. The focus was more on the clips themselves at this point, cutting them up into fast-paced montages with brief one-liners mixed in. Rob Dyrdek stood on a giant laptop for God's sake, and the show's closing segment in season 1 was sponsored by Bing. Original, still had the sound effect, still trying to make themselves relevant, still trying to rival Google Bing.
I just am on the internet all day binging anything that comes to my mind. So all I did was bing barf bag. And what came up is this. This is unbelievable. Take a look. Bing.
Chanel West Coast was even absent for 2 episodes in the first season, which would be unthinkable now. It was clear that Rob, Steelo, and Chanel were the rapping more than the product. As much entertainment as it offered, this was still largely Rob Dyrdek and friends doing a clip show. Starting in season 2, things began to change, and I don't just mean the show switching to high-definition production. Slowly but surely, over the following several seasons. That sounds glacial, but there's been over 500 episodes spanning 17 seasons at this point. Ridiculousness began to loosen up a little. While still maintaining much of the setup, the show began to slow down. Little by little, Rob, Sterling, and Chanel's colorful commentary got more space to breathe. We started to get some more elaborate seps beyond just, hey, you did this thing, now here's a category of other people doing this thing. The show seemed to be getting a little more creative over time, going beyond the initial premise of internet videos with quick-fire commentary and weaving in more stories, more impressions, more expressiveness. We got to know Rob, Steelo, and Chanel more as the show went on.
And what's the word with the C that we just hate?
You know what?
I've never even heard the word in my life.
The first Chanel and Sterling episode, where there's no celebrity guest and it's the three of them just having fun, as Rob would often say during them, happened in season 2, though they would only happen a few times a season until season 8. The show still felt highlighting clips was important though, and perhaps the show's continued inclusion of a closing segment throughout the first several seasons highlights this. Among them, Season 2's high-speed recap, a 30-second montage of every video in the episode, Season 4's BYOC, where the celebrity guest, or one of the trio if it's just them, introduces a clip they'd like to close out on, and Season 9's either-or closer, where 2 words are presented, cake or snake for instance, and a clip is played based on the choice, though sometimes you end up with both anyway.
Are we using this music? I'm sorry, real fast. Why did y'all choose to make the Black Bear dancing to Shaft music?
Because this black bear is funky as hell right now.
In 2016, Ridiculousness really began to measurably shift. The show got a new set for Season 8, which premiered that July, and among other things, it did away with the giant laptop. This wouldn't seem like a big thing, but in context, it's sort of a metaphor for the fact that the format of the show itself is beginning to change in some ways. In Season 8, the show began to have fewer celebrity guests, and more episodes where it was just Chanel and Sterling. They had already begun playing with the format through omitting the closing segments in some of Seasons 6 and 7, but that piece of the format would, at least in the meantime, endure.
Now I gotta think of like, how do I be Sterling? Yeah, I'm just gonna hit like just dick jokes. You know?
In Season 9, the show had its most unpredictable episode to date, the Ridic remix episode, where Rob, Steelo, and Chanel took turns doing each other's jobs. Rob and Sterling were eager to show off their impressions of Chanel, and we got to see everyone from surprising new angles, both literally and metaphorically.
What up?
This is so weird.
Killing it. Killing it.
Are you gonna laugh like that the whole episode?
Until he switches. Yeah.
Season 10 in the fall of 2017 was the show's most experimental season to date, with that run featuring a new intro and updated graphics, and a variety of special thematic episodes like Ridiculousness and the Happy Everything episode. This was the most frequently they'd played with the show structurally to this point, and the thematic episodes were ripe to unearth unique and interesting stories and moments from Rob, Steelo, and Chanel. With all this experimentation and expansion of the format, certainly something big was about to happen to MTV's little clip show.
Like, look, if you're gonna get hit in the junk, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to make this episode about right, but
here we are.
But here we are.
but here we are. All I was thinking when I was coming in the commercial, man, now I got another conversation.
The premiere of Season 11 in August 2018 was the moment when Ridiculousness finally made the leap they had been preparing for and hinting at for the past several seasons. The show's look was revamped with a new black and blue color scheme, and the closing segments had finally gone, doing away with the last of the online-centric pretense. It was a total break with what the show had been before. No longer was this a show where 3 longtime friends showcased internet clips and cracked jokes at them. Ridiculousness was now a show driven by personalities, not necessarily by the clips, an inversion of what the show was when it started. The clips were still there, of course, and they were still funny, but the focus had shifted. Sometimes it feels as if the videos themselves are just background now, to Rob, Steelo, and Chanel telling stories and wisecracking with each other.
We live in crazy times, okay?
We do.
Technology is getting funky.
It is.
All right? They can tell who you are by what you look like from space, okay?
This was not a bad thing. In fact, it was a necessary thing. Web video was no longer novel. The internet had matured in the 7 years since Rob first took that laptop-shaped stage. YouTube had gone from a viral video website to something people are able to do as a job. Web video exploded in the 2010s with the likes of Vine and TikTok and the expansion of internet memes creating a vast online humor landscape that would have been unimaginable back in the days when the show began. Many of the contemporaries that were on air when Ridiculousness first started were cancelled by this point, and it would have hurt the show if they stuck strictly to the show's original premise and format structure. Rob, Steelo, and Chanel were no longer side characters to the wacky pulse of the viral internet. They were now comedians, in a more traditional sense, curators of the massive and increasingly disjointed landscape of viral videos, the internet, and meme culture, and most importantly, storytellers, adding to the videos they share each episode rather than just repeating them as was initially appropriate. Ridiculousness had grown into a franchise in itself, and the trio who starred in it were now able to flex themselves more as integral characters of the show, as personalities. And boy, are the 3 personalities Ridiculousness has good ones.
Yeah! Papa's here to show you how it's really done!
Rob Dyrdek spearheads the show as host. He grew up in suburban Ohio and spent his adolescence as a professional skateboarder, skipping senior year to live out his pipe dreams in Southern California. After his career, he found his way to MTV, where he made Robin big in 2006, and the rest is aforementioned history. On the show, Rob is energetic, enthusiastic, zany, off the wall, and completely, shamelessly unafraid to express himself in any way he wants to or knows how. He will get up on that stage and dance in exactly the way you think a white man will dance, and he will own it.
And here's the thing about average white people. You know what I mean?
The way he used to rock those DC hoodies while he was still sponsored by them was simply stunning. I'm kinda sad he only wears generic hoodies on the show now. We really lost a style icon. Honestly, Rob Dyrdek is the kind of person I want to be when I'm 40. Harboring absolutely none of the usual trappings of middle age and still looking cool doing it.
Look, I'm envious of him, and I hope I turn into what he is today.
I could totally see you taking tango classes at 80.
I feel like, I don't even know what tango is. This feels like it's close, you know what I mean? I don't know.
This man is kind of inspiring to me, just given the natural confidence and jubilance he exudes every minute of every episode. He's just so comfortable and having so much fun, and he just subtly makes sure everyone knows it. After all these years, he still has this wholesomeness and youthfulness to him that just shines. It's infectious.
Okay, look, naked, panties! Look at her panties! She is butt naked, man! What the
I don't know if this is also partly due to me taking things from him over the past few years, but I see parts of myself in Rob, as weird as that is to say, and in a way, he makes me feel seen and accepted. Someone can sing and dance at random and shamelessly look like they're going to embarrass their ass off and be successful at it, and have good, strong friendships, and have relationships, and even have a family when that time of life comes.
Okay, you go back. I love this woman. She was like, I'm not gonna let anything hold me back because I wanna feel freedom. She did just that.
There are so many ways in which Rob Dyrdek is different from myself. He was raised some 700 miles further west than I. He picked up skateboarding at 12 while I can't even ride a bike at 22. He's a neurotypical white guy from the suburbs, twice the age of me, an autistic mixed-race dude with a burning need for the social connection of a city. But yet, I feel we share very similar spirits. I just hope one day I can be as confident in conveying it as he is. I kinda hate that I can't really imitate his voice. It's a weird and specific mixture of white and southern that I just can't nail.
Look, I grew up in Ohio, and Denny's in the summer after midnight was just literally like it was might as well be the UFC. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it was like, oh, going down, like, oh.
Besides his dancing, his expression of his humble Midwestern background lends itself to almost natural comedy. He's also one for impressions, and those can get pretty funny.
I got a backpack full of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I'm getting out of this town.
Oh my God!
He got up so high. Look how high the car went.
Sterling Steelo Brim is the guy whose fingers do all the walking. He controls the playback of the videos on the show. Frequent replays are one of Ridiculousness's unique selling points, and even with the show's shift in character over the years, that is one of the things that hasn't changed. Born and raised in Chicago, Steelo brings a straight shooting flavor to the show, influenced by his experiences in the city.
What you got is
Oh! Get up, boy, you all right? You gotta listen to his daddy, though. Black parents don't ever ask you if you're okay, they tell you if you're okay.
In addition to his gig at the controls, he also has a keen eye for spying tidbits and clips no one else would have noticed, to the point that the show devoted a whole category to it in one episode entitled Steelo Vision Test.
Where's this guy? Oh, there's no. There's no. Oh my God. He almost killed Diller. He almost killed Diller.
like legitimately could have killed this man.
Calling out the obvious conclusions 100% and regularly aware of the worst case scenario, Steelo is also afraid of raccoons. Do not play around with him and raccoons.
Steelo, I got a surprise for you, something I think you're gonna appreciate and love.
Oh man.
Chanel West Coast may not have a specific role in running the show, but she's important to Ridiculousness nonetheless. And she is far more than the dumb blonde with a dolphin laugh regular viewers of the show may see her as.
Some sort of sea
walrus.
beast? Big ass weird sea walrus?
Oh wait, is a walrus in the sea? I got confused.
Where would a walrus be if he's not in the sea?
A native of LA, Chanel and Rob initially met in 2008 before she became the rapping receptionist on Fantasy Factory the next year. Outside of Ridiculousness, she's also developed a career as a singer, songwriter, and rapper, though don't ask what Charlamagne thinks of that.
Have y'all ever heard her rap? Oh, okay. Good for the people that said no.
Well, no. Hold on, let's just get Lil Wayne, who co-signed Drake and Nicki Minaj, is the same person who co-signed me. I've won a BET award with Young Money. I got songs with French Montana, YG, Ty Dolla $ign, Snoop Dogg. Mind you,
Chanel quite literally has partying in her blood. Not only is she an avid clubgoer, but her father was a DJ and her grandpa apparently still hits the nightlife himself. To top things off, she's got Russian heritage, which will always get brought up whenever Ridiculousness showcases clips from the nation with seemingly the craziest people in the world.
Have you ever showed up to the party too drunk?
Yeah.
Yeah? I mean, what happened?
I don't remember.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't remember.
Well,
Purveyor of butt photos on Instagram, avid weed enthusiast, and seasoned party detective, Chanel brings a lot to the table, and while she may have an occasional lapse when it comes to following the plot, her story-filled lifestyle can easily send the conversation on weird and wild tangents that never disappoint.
Like one time I just like, you, and this guy's like, yeah, West Coast. Like, I was like, he like took that really well.
Though, if we are going to talk about Chanel West Coast, I guess we do have to confront the laugh. It's her trademark at this point, and just about anything can send her into a giggling tizzy.
Chanel, I have a feeling that you laugh both when you see something sketchy or dangerous and when you see something funny.
Yes.
Is that true?
Pretty much.
So if you're about to, like, drive a car off a cliff, you're gonna be like, oh, this is crazy.
Okay.
It's a very divisive element of the show, and it has turned off some people who find it gratingly annoying. But honestly, either you like it or you don't, and either way, it's fine. If we as a society haven't learned from Sanjay and Craig that your natural laugh is the best laugh, then we're not gonna learn at all.
Okay.
I don't really throw parties.
Okay, look, here's the thing.
They really do parties.
I did not go, I really throw a party. Like, that's not what I did. But okay.
You didn't.
Each of these disparate personalities mesh unbelievably well together, and that's partly due to just the strength of their friendship. They're not just co-hosts put together by some executive. Rob Dyrdek brought his friends on for this show. People he's gotten to know deeply, and the understanding is mutual. And it feels like we get a peek into that relationship in every episode. There have been a number of occasions where clips come up and one of them points out, oh, this was Steelo growing up, or this is Rob in 20 years, or this is Chanel after a party. That's something you can only really get naturally when you really get to know someone and what they're like.
I can see her being that way, yeah.
I'm one of those bite-sized badasses.
She's like 100% faced. Hey, Chanel, you mother, I swear to God, this is not blue.
Their camaraderie is really what's helped this show last for so long, and it's tough to replicate in exactly the same way. Believe me, between Nickelodeon's Crashleets, featuring a different Rob, white girl and black guy, and the semi-recent Grossness, WTFness, and Bustedness specials, the last of those featuring Jake Paul and Tana Mongo of all people, both Rob and MTV have tried. I did enjoy Crashleets though. It kinda got screwed with towards the end in season 3, but it was a solid execution of the format. Their relationship and their diverse backgrounds also harbor spontaneity. Sometimes you never really know just how the three of them will react to something. Rob could suddenly get deep introducing a category, Chanel could burst into laughter at something unusual, Steelo might have experience with something none of them expected him to know about.
Welcome back to Ridiculousness. Okay, is it ever appropriate to have someone throw your birthday cake in your face?
I've never really had a birthday party.
Oh, man. I've had one ever.
Not since I was like 10.
I've only had one. I threw it myself.
Okay.
You may know or get to know the general archetypes, but ridiculousness goes beyond that, and soon enough you really get to see these three as people. Fleshed out, multi-dimensional people. And yes, they are people and were to begin with, but not many unscripted formats allow their talent to dive that deep.
Are you trying to tell me that you do not throw a fully significant party each year at some
I'm like
club?
the one girl who doesn't do that.
And they walk out like a cake with your face on it with sparklers and bottles? That does not happen?
Yeah, that happens for her. Yeah, it does.
Not really.
On some shows, the stereotype or the quick, self-deprecating gag is enough, or the need to stick to the format robs the talent of any chance to express themselves. Here, you'll get so much more than that, and you won't even see it coming.
I don't know what's happening here, but that's not Tight Club, that's like an adult fight club.
Something else you wouldn't necessarily expect from Ridiculousness is the amount of continuity this show has. There are a lot of running jokes, references, and recurring themes laced throughout the show which you wouldn't think you'd see on something so heavily episodic. The show's long-running alternate logo, the scorpion, is perhaps among the earliest and most visible examples. A scorpion happens when you faceplant and the rest of your body curls around after you so that your heel's overhead. While it hasn't been featured as much in more recent seasons, it's been the subject of several categories in the past.
First of all, Brad, with your slippers on.
This is definitely a gym in Silver Lake.
I love working out on CBD.
Rob has a tendency to name the people in the clips. Most dudes end up being Brad, though there's also Jeff, Daryl, Karen, Debbie, Big, someone or other for a more rotund person.
I'm a great parallel parker.
Damn.
I don't
I'll be
see
swerving
that.
in like, whoosh.
That was not the right sound effects.
It is, though. Now I picture like the tightest, hardest place spark.
Nah, I get my whole...
Yeah, girl.
He's also just a straight-up catchphrase machine, and he's fueled quite a share of the show's recurring references. Whenever someone's angling for something like a skate trick, Rob will shout, "Get there!" When someone's flying in, he'll say they're coming in hot. And from time to time, Rob will bring up the fact that he is indeed 1/16th ginger and feels a little of the redheaded pain. Sometimes they'll run a particular category, and then later in the episode, a clip will come up in a different category that, funnily enough, would have also fit in the earlier category. Ridiculousness as a whole is also laced with people getting seriously hurt or screwed up, and in more recent seasons, it's become a bit of a thing for Rob to bring up that the show doesn't show anyone dying in any of the clips. Or at least they think they don't. They certainly try not to, at least.
I refuse to believe that this is a very well-shaped piece of ham.
I thought it was bologna. It might be ham.
Okay, there is no chance that's not someone's face.
And they're bleeding too?
This ain't legal.
Oh, that just gave me like the
Like, what is
heebie-jeebies.
Somebody might be dead and we just paid him a licensing fee.
While Rob, as host, certainly has his fair share of references, Steelo and Chanel are no slouches. For instance, whenever something thin or sharp gets a little too acquainted with a butt, Sterling is often the first to call out penetration.
I got it!
Oh my God, penetrated him.
Okay.
Full penetration.
Okay.
It was like 2 steps away.
Look, and really, it doesn't matter how deep you get penetrated, you do not drop that beer.
I've said a lot about ridiculousness already, but I don't think I've gotten to the crux of this whole thing yet. Why do I love ridiculousness so much? Well, for one, it's just straight up funny, and a lot of that now is simply due to the fact that just about anything can happen. They've had animals on the show, they've rolled out a Power Wheels luxury car for DJ Khaled's son, Rob has been caught in a suggestive position on multiple occasions.
I don't know if this is specifically bro related. I think this is more I just got played. Like, Sterling just like rewound his right into my hand.
The show never stops surprising. Every episode finds a new way to keep things fresh and exciting, and even when there's not necessarily anything new to add to the list of most outrageous moments from this show, the interaction between the format and the trio are hugely entertaining in their own right. Rob Dyrdek was literally entranced for like half an episode on the implications of Closer by the Chainsmokers, and I swear him explaining it to them was an art in itself. And you never really know about any of this unless you really dive into it, which, as someone who's super invested into obscure or international television series lacking in online fandom or any semblance of real general awareness here in the US, is something I know quite a bit about from experience.
I don't know if I'll go that far.
We went that far, even if it was by accident.
Probably the other reason why I love it is just because of what it means to me, personally. Not only have I grown to really identify with Rob, but I've come to really appreciate all of them and what they bring to the show and to TVs all around the world. Personally, meaningful social interaction has been hard to come by in my life for one reason or another, and while I try, a well-tread friendship in the style of what you see on TV, where they know each other pretty well and do stuff together and hang out all the time, is unfortunately still a distant concept at present. On Ridiculousness, I get to sit down and connect to people I know without all the awkwardness that comes with building that. Sure, that sounds weird and blatantly parasocial, but I'm tired of going through the motions IRL of putting in all the effort and ending up without anything really to show for it. Doing that for the past 10 years plus certainly makes me question whether or not I'll ever truly have meaningful relationships outside of the internet, and that's not fun to think about. Not having to do that for half an hour is a welcome break. It certainly helps that Rob, Steelo, and Chanel are legitimately fun to watch, and given this is now pretty much MTV's most tuned into show, it seems a lot of people agree. Maybe some of them watch for that reason too.
Lost virginity to what?
To a jar of peanut butter. And clearly the crowd loved it. It was like he did one, yes, that counts.
Despite its clip show origins, Ridiculousness is simply like no other show on TV. Sure, you could put 3 people in a room and get them to react to things, and when you say it like that, the idea has manifested in a number of different ways, but that would guarantee nothing. Now more than ever, the reason why Ridiculousness works, and the reason why this show has endured for the past 9 years, is the people. There's simply no one like Rob, Steelo, and Chanel, and you just can't manufacture the all-natural crazy this show delivers in spades. We are all a collection of experiences and influences, and the most fulfilling thing we do as humans is share those experiences and influences with others. It may have started as just a clip show, but over the years, Ridiculousness has become much more than that. It is a televised intersection for a variety of influences, experiences, and stories, both from the stars themselves, the guests they have on, and in some ways, even the viewers.
Okay, let's talk about experience, right? The more you do something, the better you get at it. Right?
True.
Rob, Steelo, and Chanel, in a sense, are a distillation of the kinds of people that I feel everyone wants to know in their lives. Genuinely interesting people with unexplored depth and range that are generally positive influences. And on this show, admittedly with a bit of prompting, they come together to blend their entire lives into a series of shared experiences that, at times, build on each other. Pulling this off across over 500 episodes is a feat of genius and coincidence that I don't think can even be fully understood or appreciated. A show where anything can happen, everything comes together, and people have a good time, and maybe a few of them feel a little more personally affirmed. That, truly, is ridiculousness.
Reminder, MTV and the producers insist that no one submit any videos of themselves or others performing any dangerous activities. We will not open or view them.
This is probably the most personal I've gotten in a while, and I only feel this strongly about very few shows. One of them is the Nick cartoon Sanjay and Craig. I am completely serious, and I explain why I love it, and dispel some misconceptions in the process, in a video up here or down in the description. And if you want more deep, though perhaps less personal, explorations of the world of television every single week, then make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'm Benzie Johnson Jr., I'm enthusiastic about television, and I'll see you next time. Oh, and thanks to Tuner Victorique, who treads on series of personal importance more often. He really inspired me to make this video.